Carlsen's, well, he's played it. I recall a game against Aronian, and I'm sure there's other games, but normally he's more of a Queen's Gambit player. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, Queen's Gambit also. I think there was some Nimzo at some point, but yeah, Queen's Gambit.
No, I mean the combination of Nimzo, Queen's Gambit is very common.
This kind of a complex, which is what most people seem to be doing these days. And there's already possibilities for relative excitement in this position, but I think it's rather unlikely. I think he will go knight f6, but d takes c4 might take us into very, very funny directions if that's the choice.
This move order is already, well, it's perfectly normal main move, 3 knight c3, but normally if people want a mainline Slav, they will start with knight f3.
Exactly, yeah.
And after knight f6, then go knight c3. Because, as you mentioned, knight c3 allows dc4, but white's point tends to be after knight f6 you can go e3, and you've denied black some possibilities, like bishop f5,
and
bishop g4.
This is, I think, what we're headed for once again. I've learned to trust the chat on these things, and they're saying knight f6, e3, a6 is what is on the board.
Okay, I'm not sure by our own little board here, but I'll get used to these things. e3, yeah, this was the point I was trying to make, because if you go bishop f5 here, then you run into cd, queen b3.
Although
there is more theory here.
Yeah, there's knight c6 these days, but there's also the old way of just playing bishop c8 and saying, what exactly have you achieved, sir? But yeah, knight c6, queen b7, bishop d7.
I've seen this line actually.
It's not even doing that poorly, I think, these days. I've never really played it with black or white, but I think these days it's supposed to be doing reasonably okay. Although I think white got somewhere in one of the last games I've seen, like queen b3.
But you're missing a pawn.
Queen b3, rook b8, queen d1, e5. I think is how it goes. And black is aiming for, a lot of compensation for just... occasionally the pawn on d5 also gets sacrificed, actually. You sometimes find yourself, I think, 2 down. Yeah.
Actually, I've seen this position. I even prepared this once for white, and there was no obvious way to...
Yeah, I don't think it's sort of mathematically refutable, but it is a pawn, obviously, so it would have been interesting, but did not happen.
Well, so white could just say, okay, I was just testing the waters, and then go back to something like this, right?
Yeah, sure.
It's all speculation, but let's get to the game, because it looks like he did play a6, which is this, do we call this the Chebanenko Slav? What do we call all these a6s?
That I think is called the Chebanenko system.
Even with e3, not knight f3.
I think all of these positions when black plays a6 on move 4, there's an umbrella name for all of this, yeah. I actually played this a little bit with black. That's one of the openings I occasionally play when I get bored of playing the Grunfeld every single game.
Did you have this in the candidates? No, you didn't have e3.
Nobody
right?
played. I would have had it in the candidates, but nobody actually played this against me, and I had a number of those knight f3, d takes c4 positions.
Those I remember, but this.
Yeah, but I had a game against Livon in the Sinkfield.
It was Sinkfield, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, let's spit out some theory. Knight f3, I would argue, is the main move, mainly because you can reach it via another move order as well after knight f3, a6, e3. And here black faces a very important choice between, I would say, 3 main moves. b5,
bishop f5, and e6. Yeah, exactly.
e6 was played by none other than Vishy Anand in a previous World Championship match against Boris Gelfand.
Yeah, they discussed this.
Playing that.
Yeah, they discussed it very, very seriously. Boris won a game here eventually won a game. Not that he found something crushing in that game, but he got a very comfortable little advantage, and Vishy misplayed that game quite badly, very uncharacteristically for him, I think. I personally generally play b5 here, and Sergei plays bishop d3, which is curious.
That's interesting.
Which is curious because
it's a little move order flirting. He doesn't want to see what Magnus has prepared in knight f3. Bishop d3 allows something weird like this, but then we would get to some Queen's Gambit accepted territory, which Sergei used to play a lot himself with the black pieces.
Sure.
And what else could black do? e6 is always an option.
e6 is an option.
Is obviously
e6 is an option. I think g6 is an option here. I have a feeling that this is one of the positions in which you can play g6. But is bishop g4 thought? Yeah, probably queen b3. Allowing queen b3 here is is wrong. Yeah.
I'm not sure. F3, 1 bishop h5. I'm guessing.
Yeah, I want to try. Yeah, but after queen b3, b5, like takes a4. I have a feeling
It looks.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm allowing too much.
I agree. Yeah. In some theoretical lines, you normally have to give a pawn here with b4, but I'm not sure this is the space for it. B4.
I think the inclusion of bishop d3 and bishop g4 should generally favor white.
Agreed. So let's see. Bishop d3. I'm wondering. I've played all kinds of nonsense here with white. I probably have played queen c2 at some point as well.
Yeah, I think g6 is more a reply to queen c2 than bishop d3.
Right.
So yeah, after bishop d3.
Probably viewers are smarter here than us because we don't have a database currently running. What is usual here? E6. E6 is the main move that comes to mind if you don't want to transpose to these Queen's Gambit accepted.
Yeah, that is definitely an option. I'm sure b5 doesn't lose, so you could maybe make an argument for playing b5 anyway.
Actually, I should be a little more accurate because now that I'm thinking about it, bishop d3, dc, bishop c4, e6, knight f3, c5. This is not a normal Queen's Gambit accepted because the knight is already on c3. That's actually supposed to be a very decent version for black.
Yeah,
because after castles b5, this knight is a liability.
Yeah, you actually want to develop it to g2 in many cases to play a4 b4 and then develop it to c4. So yeah, that definitely is an option. It's slightly upsetting to me that I can't remember the first move I'm supposed to make in this position because we definitely looked at this for the candidates. This position is very, very certainly on file, and some time was spent on it. And yeah, and the fact that I'm struggling to name the first move I was supposed to make here is upsetting to me a little bit. But today, frankly, is...
No, but yeah, I was also struggling with memory, but now I'm fairly sure that the theoretical recipe is supposed to be takes e6, knight f3, and either c5 or b5 and c5. Probably c5 first. Because b5, sometimes you get like some boring lines with bishop e2, knight e5, whatever.
Yeah, I have a feeling this probably was what we were generally trying to angle towards after bishop d3. But we'll see what Magnus does. And it's also curious that that Sergei goes for this, because this, of all the options available to white against the Chebanenko, I think this is one of the quieter ones. And he actually played something very critical recently against the Chebanenko. He played a very interesting sideline, I think, in trying to figure out where that was. In the knight f3, b5, b3 line, he played a very interesting seventh move there. Like b3, bishop g4, I think he played a4 here against...
a4?
Yeah. Which is a very
Levon
rare...
played queen d2
Yeah, Levon played queen d2 against me,
this one I've seen, bishop e2 is the main line, but a4 I've not seen.
He played a4 here against... can't remember exactly who. This is a very interesting move, and it's also very, very unobvious and very rare, which means that he and his team have at some point spent some time looking at this in quite some detail to find this idea. So the fact that he is now not repeating knight f3 at all is interesting, but perhaps they felt once again that Magnus will be prepared for knight f3.
Yeah, also maybe they aren't curious to find out which move Magnus has prepared after knight f3, because you have three options, while bishop d3, I guess, limits his options to some extent. Bishop f5 looks wrong. b5 looks, I don't know, it feels weird here. I'm not sure if that's a correct evaluation, but it feels slightly off somehow.
It feels that, you know, the fact that the knight might be developed. Oops. That was probably...
Did I click something bad? I'm new to this, so go easy on me. Hang on, what do I click? I click here, and then I try to bring it back, right?
I think you actually managed to close it somehow. I don't know how.
How would I be able to do that? I'm gonna need a lot of help. Because I also don't know the live thingy. Let's just do the mannequin challenge, because I see you have zero intention to help me out while I'm trying to solve these problems. Just talk. I'll click.
Yeah, I have to say that I managed to do a number of really, really weird things in the 3 days that I was in charge of the mouse there, but that I actually have never done. And I honestly don't know where the PGN is, because
Neither do I.
Since I never actually closed that window, I never had the occasion to find out. We are hoping for outside help for now, and Magnus is still thinking, so...
Okay, so we can actually theoretically reconstruct the position, right?
Yes.
Normally it's somewhere on the desktop. It's not here.
No, you opened the correct window there, but we
No, I know, but I mean, in text form I should have the thing you have to type in. Maybe it's this. Okay, that wasn't so hard, was it?
No, you don't want the video. You want the thing called chessboard.
Oh boy, this show is
chessboard.
Well. Chessboard?
Yes. And we are back to something
Wasn't me.
resembling normalcy here. Yeah, I'm very happy not to have the mouse for this. Yeah. Sitting as far away from the mouse as possible, I can be absolved on most blame. That's not the operating mouse.
Just saying. Anyway, bishop d3 on the board. Magnus Carlsen thinking. Yeah, b5 we were talking about, right? And then somehow the window disappeared. I didn't like it out of general considerations, which might not be good enough. But after b3, it feels like bishop g4
bishop g4 is very slow, and you
can go here, or queen c2. It's in the middle of nowhere. Now, what do we do? Like e6.
No, those
feels weird.
If your bishop stays locked in, you don't really want to play b5. I think the entire idea of playing b5 is then to get the bishop outside the wall first, and only then play e6. Yeah, I think b5 is not a very likely option. And yeah, it's either the immediate e6 or takes and e6. I'm not sure which one is.
I was also wondering what the difference is. Like, the most likely is there's no particular difference, and e6, knight f3.
b3 maybe?
This is what I was curious about, yeah.
Kind of trying to switch to some of these things Kramnik has been doing with reasonable success recently, like playing these types of Rubinstein positions. And here black did waste a tempo on a6. I mean, if b5 is not forthcoming and black has to switch to something more standard, then a6 will very likely be a wasted tempo.
I would argue the tempo wasted is on c6, not a6, because typically in these structures you have to go c5. Yeah. Actually, maybe immediately. And then the c pawn is moved twice. Still, it's normally considered to be playable, because whatever, you get something.
Yeah, it's never going to be horrible for black.
Okay, this is not ideal, but it's still... It's a position, right?
You know, of course it's a position, but still it does feel somewhat, you know, it gives white additional options. And... yeah.
Yeah, I believe, as mentioned, that the theoretical subscription is DC.
Yeah, and it seems like he has taken and played e6 and knight f3, c5 in short order. So we are headed towards Queen's Gambit accepted territory, but with the knight on c3 already played, which, as you said correctly, is supposed to be somewhat in black's favor. Not, I mean, it's a perfectly playable move, of course, but it's not supposed to be the most critical option against, you know, the classical Queen's Gambit decline.
Let's briefly, for the viewers that aren't super grandmasters, which are few, but still they're out there, show the difference. This is the move order you would most typically.
Yeah, takes c5, castles a6.
Get this, and here white would never play knight c3, or it reduces his options. You always want a castle. Many lines you don't want this. And after a6, white has a white choice.
Yeah, bishop b3, bishop d3. All these moves are very, very possible. Yeah, the endgame as well, but mainly bishop b3 and bishop d3. With the idea, for instance, after bishop b3, if black plays b5, I think you immediately play a4, b4, and d4 straight away.
And these things are harder to do if you have a knight on c3. Like here, e4 is a big theory line.
Yeah. So, and the knight gets developed via d2 to c4, and it's you don't waste the tempo, and also c4 might be a much better square eventually for that piece. So,
still, of course, Mr. Karjakin is aware of all these things, and he's going to have a plan connected to his play. Did he play c5 or did he play b5, c5?
Well, many things are happening on our screen.
We'll get to them.
Yeah, and he did play it in this move order. White, no, but we should go back to.
Sure.
Yeah, dc4, bishop c4, e6, knight f3, c5 was played. Castles, b5.
Yeah, all of this is.
Yeah, that's still very much my
what the
theory.
doctor ordered.
Bishop e2, bishop b7.
Yeah, this is sort of the new trend in positions like that, to play bishop to e2, and after bishop b7 to take on c5 even, I believe.
Yeah, and this has been played, and Also, very surprisingly to me, Magnus blitzed out knight c6 in this position, which is not the most,
It's not an obvious move.
It's not an obvious move at all.
What I'm embarrassed about is I have a feeling that in a video series that I might have done on Chess24, covering the so-called Vienna opening, I did cover this position, and I cannot at all remember what I gave, but just to show you the wonderful world of move orders, which we all greatly enjoy. This is the so-called Vienna, which I did my video series on. E3, not the most critical move, but here you're supposed to go A6.
Yeah.
Bishop takes C4, C5, castle, B5, and we're back. So this can arise from many a move order. It's not supposed to be very critical, but clearly it's sort of an emergency, or I'm not sure if emergency is a fair word, but a very solid line that Team Karjakin had up their sleeves. Here you can never be worse. You try to get a little something in an endgame. And they said, in the unlikely case, he's going to play the Chebanenko Slav. We can do this. And then, yes, see what happens.
Yeah.
Is that a fair assessment?
I think it is, but we are entering interesting territory, because by playing knight c6, what black is trying to achieve here is not give up the d-file, that's all, because generally, the two normal moves here would be either queen d1 and bishop takes c5, or bishop takes c5 straight away. And then you develop the white rook towards the one of the open files on the board. It generally, I think, is not supposed to be particularly horrible here, but still, it's something that can be counted as an improvement for white. Or you can play bishop c5 and take with the king on d8, and in a similar position your king will be on e7 with the rooks connected, but on the other hand the king might eventually regret not being on g8 and on e7.
Well, this is fairly standard, but even here the knight does not often go to c3.
Yeah, knight d2 b3 I think is what they do here these days. And
some a4.
And some
Down the
a4,
stretch.
yeah.
Yeah. So knight c6 on the board. What does he want? Queen
Yeah, you
takes
should
d8.
probably remove that check mark, because it will mess with the analysis, the top one. Yeah.
I would never dare to mess with the analysis in any way, shape or form.
Yeah, and if black is allowed to take on c5 next move sort of unopposed, he will have a very, very comfortable version of the same, right?
I
That would
lack
be-
chess understanding. I'm sure in my video series I gave something saying 0, 0, 0, but I don't really understand what's happening. To be frank with you. Knight d2 can do that, or is that a little
Yeah, of course you
too
can still do
undeveloped?
that, but I think that does feel like without the d-file will be sort of painfully slow. Bishop anywhere before actually is something they often do in these positions. Also bc.
Yeah, can't decide.
Yeah,
But it all
many
looks decent.
squares. And I will just mention something because it might be very critical, and also I generally don't do this early in the broadcast, and I have now removed the option from myself. But
I don't know what's coming here.
I've glanced at what it says.
Already?
The devil. And it says something very, very curious. And that might be the reason why the move knight c6 has not been, has not been played. Maybe it has been played. You can take on d8 here.
Fair enough.
And after rook takes d8, which looks natural, you can play a4, b4, knight b5.
Whoa.
Which is something I've seen on my screen for about 5 seconds. And it's such an interesting option for white that I felt that I should mention it. Although
What's going on? You want to check me?
Yeah,
Take?
yeah. That's the point, and I think the evaluation of the whole thing. Yeah, please don't. I think the evaluation of the whole thing might depend on whether white gets anywhere with that knight on a6 or not.
You would guess, given the fact that Magnus blitzed out his move knight c6,
Yes.
that he's probably familiar with this option, right?
Yes, I think it's highly unlikely they blundered it, but still, it is potentially the most forcing option available to white.
Absolutely. And it might be, yes, since as you mentioned, the slower stuff, then black gains something by just intending to go takes and this.
Yeah, not something. I think black gains a lot if he doesn't get punished tactically somehow. If white plays queen c2, I guess the idea is to play knight b4, right? That would be my understanding. Although I'm not Knight b4, queen b3, bishop c5, a4. Could this be something for white?
I decided not to inquire about the knight b4 so early in the broadcast, but if you want to check it. We're back! So what's going on here? This looks good for white, no? Bishop c5, a4. What are you doing to my poor pieces?
But I can still take and go bishop b7 and claim that, you know, nothing horrible actually happened to me, no? Take on a4.
I might check you.
We are not playing 3 checks last I checked. Whoa. a5. Oh, yeah, that check I kind of dislike.
You want to switch on the engine?
No. No. I am fully prepared to get beaten.
Do not poke the dragon.
Beaten like a drum today because I've not had a good weekend, and I expect it to continue with Jan refuting every single variation I suggest for the next 5 hours. But
that is exactly how it's gonna go. Oh boy. But yeah, let's look at the critical line, because I agree with you. Else, Queen c2.
Queen c2 is the second move you absolutely need to address.
But even that is not threatening anything, right?
Well,
so I could even think about a move like this.
But after rook d1 you might start.
The queen has no square.
Yeah, the queen has no immediately attractive square. You can play queen c7. It's not horrible.
Then why did I play rook c8?
Yeah. So queen c2 definitely is an option that is worth analyzing seriously here.
That's my analyzing seriously face. How did Eric Hansen handle these things? He just sat there quietly?
No, he kept on refuting everything I said very successfully.
I struggle to believe that.
Well,
You're very good at chess.
Not everything I said, but many of the things I said. No, I think Eric was very sharp and very good. I actually enjoyed the 3 days I worked with him a great deal.
I don't know how to follow this.
Yeah, there's just no
pressure. Yeah. Pressure is mounting. Okay, knight here.
Let's try this again. Yeah, queen b3.
Queen here. Take pawn. Looks very. Sensible.
Yeah, that's why we played knight b4. a4.
a4, because of a3, knight d5, we're just helping black.
We could maybe make an argument for just ignoring this and going castles, but that's a poor argument, I feel, because we will be playing some kind of a position where white will be a healthy pawn up.
It's one of these positions where if your computer spits out something like this, 0-0, you wouldn't be surprised, but over the board you could be pawn down for nothing.
Knight b5, like bishop d5 maybe, and play for some activity, and claim that the bishop on c1 is very passive and we have tremendous bishops on b5. Yeah.
All of this is unplugged.
Or knight d4,
even stuff like this, I wouldn't be 100% sure.
Yeah, I remember I got a position similar like that against Boris Gelfand in one of the Tal memorials. So I had a fianchettoed bishop, which made the bishop on c5 a lot stronger. But I also I won this pawn on b5, and I was very happy for about 5 seconds. And then I spent the next 3 hours trying to equalize. I did eventually equalize, but these things sometimes lead to great compensation for black. But here in particular, I think because the pawn on e3 acts as a very useful. I keep on using the word windbreaker in the shows, and I'm not sure this is correct, but wavebreaker, I think, is
windbreaker is some sort of jacket.
Yeah, windbreaker is something you wear. What I'm referring to is a wavebreaker. Yeah. So because the pawn is on e3 and not and the bishop on c5 is restricted, I think white probably is still better after knight c3.
It's easier to do with other people's pawns, as usual.
Yeah. So let's try ba4 again. ba4, knight a4. We do need to play bishop e7, I feel. Bishop d2 is also...
This feels shady to me, though.
But we can play something like bishop d5, maybe.
Sure. Bishop c4, even take here, maybe.
Bishop c4, I can take, and... Yeah. Bishop f3, bishop b4. I don't really... I'm not sure I like this. Although there's rook b8. No, rook b8, bishop takes e7.
So just to
let's
show people, this is under attack, therefore gf3. Not good, but takes here. And rook b8, bishop e7. I have a feeling white ends up with more pieces, right?
No, here black just loses because there's queen a3 check after you take with the king, but... Yeah, this looks potentially...
And something like this can potentially be very bad very quickly.
No, this looks...
king is in the middle.
This looks lost, because at the very least you will lose the a6 pawn post-haste. But... I thought I could take on c4 after bishop c4, maybe play rook b8. Actually, rook b8 looks like a half-decent move. Yeah, in that position.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the time being...
JD Kenny in the chat, because I know you think we're not reading the chat. You could not be more wrong. JD Kenny is saying the English word is breakwater, which I've never heard.
Never encountered that at all.
And you read books. So
I do.
Probably
I do
it's not. It's not in books that word.
And
also,
also,
you have to say for yourself, J.D. Kenny.
Yeah. Also, the movie is called Breaking the Waves.
That movie I thought about when someone mentioned that, but I'm not sure I've seen it.
I've seen it at least twice. Yeah. I know of a great number of people who think it's a really, really horrible movie. I don't subscribe to that view, but I think we're a bit too early in the show to start discussing movies.
It's only one game. How can we not discuss movies? 7.9 out of 10 on IMDb. How bad can be?
Well, it's Lars von Trier, so there will always be. Yeah.
I tried watching this. What's this thing called? Dogville?
Yes.
Where they painted like this is a house, this is a street. They just wrote it on the stage instead of actually putting a house on the street there. That's the laziest attempt at a movie I've ever seen. Like, come on, Lars von Trier. And I bought that DVD. It was like 15 euros, and then they don't even have the budget to build a street there. I was disgusted.
Yes.
I stopped watching after like 4 minutes.
That's the way to approach Lars von Trier movies.
No, I haven't approached any since. Like, that's my one Lars von Trier experience, and I know all you art house people are gonna claim me as something to say. Like, come on, give me a proper street in your movie. Knight c6.
I think at some point we will actually have to discuss the position with the knight on a6, so maybe we should jump to it.
How did it go? Takes a4.
Takes a4.
Because you gotta do something else.
Yeah.
This is coming. b4.
Yeah, b4 kind of feels forced here, knight b5. And bishop takes c5 also feels very forced.
Takes. These dudes are just too fast and too furious.
I think you need to return the piece more or less immediately, but you probably will be worse here because you're overextended. No, I think bishop takes c5 probably. I don't see how it loses, and then that probably is a better version.
Horsey, no?
But yeah, Horsey is quite strong. Also, bishop d2, rook fc1 looks slow, but very annoying potentially. But Horsey, connected with bishop b5 check, might be the...
Yeah, this looks dangerous.
Yeah, that doesn't look like black equalized.
Nah.
So, yeah, you go bishop takes c5 on move 13.
But why do I have to? I want to keep my piece.
But after c6, after c6 you will return it anyway, and will be sort of an even worse version of the same.
Horsey comes again, and the bishop
and the bishop is still on f8. So yeah, of these two options, you probably play bishop takes c5, but you're not going to enjoy it anyway. Takes on c5 here. A knight c7 check is now forced. King probably e7, I guess.
Not clear, right?
Well, you want to keep...
f8 makes no sense.
Yeah.
That we can agree on.
Yeah, and d7 doesn't really feel particularly natural either. I don't know. It's a move, but I don't really see why.
Let's make the natural move. Go here. Now white, to justify his operation, should take. With the bishop.
Maybe with the bishop, but yeah.
Thing.
Let's try with the knight first.
Okay, so... For black, in order to have compensation, he should claim this knight is trapped.
I think, bishop d6 is the most natural. And now knight d4, I think, is the move to play against the rook a8's threat, because if you just allow rook a8, the knight will get lost. So you play knight d4. If black takes, it creates a square on c5 for the knight to escape to. And if black plays rook a8, I guess you play knight c6, bishop d2. And you start attacking the pawn on b4. No, this doesn't quite work. Yeah, there's knight d5 here. There's all kinds of moves.
So this looks like
e4, knight f4. It might actually be sort of the way to go for black. But
takes.
Bishop takes c4 and claim that I have tremendous compensation. I don't know.
Maybe you do. I'm not sure.
Well, neither am I. I mean, I've seen this position for the first time in my life now, but I think.
Yeah.
Because I'm actually having sort of weird deja vu flashbacks right now about this particular position. If I come back to my hotel today and find this in my files, I will be really, really confused. But I don't think so.
Yeah, hard to say.
Why
does pawn up like his bishops?
I have a feeling I've seen the bishop f3 takes rook h8 line before, but once again, maybe it's just me, having weird, brain fades for no reason whatsoever.
Do you believe in déjà vus, or is there a scientific explanation?
I actually read something on the subject recently, or possibly heard something on the subject recently, and I think there is a possible explanation for what that is.
Glitches in the matrix, right?
That's one of them, yeah, but not the only one. There's also something to do with the tiredness and brain just not processing data fast enough, which results in it seemingly duplicating itself. But what do I know?
That sounded too complicated. I need it in layman's terms, just like chess-wise.
Layman's terms, matrix glitches are. It's an explanation that works, so I tamper with it.
But the line we talked about actually made some amount of sense, even, right?
It did to a degree, yeah.
Because bishop b6, I don't know, feels funny, it doesn't cover
after
this.
Bishop d2, there's also even a5, but after bishop d2 I can't find a comfortable move for black, to be honest.
No, this just, doesn't work, because now this is Mr. Target. So here, and knight d4 is a nice move, trying to, you've given all the good stuff.
Well, it
actually lose a piece.
Yeah, it actually looks like the only move that doesn't lose to rook a8, so you kind of want to make it.
Rook a8, there might be alternatives, right? You could think about takes and some.
You don't really want to give the c5 square to the knight. And once again, bishop d2 is a threat. Knight d4, f3 doesn't feel like you're getting much of anywhere. And no, this doesn't really, even a third glance doesn't feel like it's a solution for black.
No. That leaves us with rook a8, really?
Well, you can maybe try going somewhere with that knight, like knight a5 maybe, but once again, you need to find a reply to bishop d2, and I don't see one, at least immediately. Wherever this knight goes, bishop d2 just feels extremely, extremely annoying.
Yeah, this...
I thought maybe knight e5 followed by bishop d2, knight e4, but... Even f4 is not ridiculous here, I think. Driving...
I didn't get your point. Bishop d2, what do you want?
Knight e4 I wanted to try, but even bishop e1 there, to be honest. Just sort of some patience.
Just to show people, this took me like 8 minutes to understand, but now I got it. Now we can take. And
yeah, that was my brilliant point.
Mysteriously, everything is protected.
Yeah, and Sergey goes knight g2 apparently, so he dodged all of this.
Well, it looks like Magnus, I'm not sure, it's too early to say that he caught Sergey off guard, but he blitzed out his knight c6, and I'm not sure about the times, but if he took some time to play knight d2, could be some indication that Sergey is out of book, or that this knight c6 came as a bit of a surprise, right?
Yeah, 18 minutes to make this move, which does seem to support the idea that knight c6 came as a bit of a surprise here, and he is now potentially on his own. It's not a
This
position...
was also my gut reaction, so you can be sure it's a quality move, but it's maybe not critical.
Black will take, and now you can play knight b3, or you can maybe try playing a4 before
This is what we talked about, right? Bishop b6, and what's
actually I'm not sure.
The deal
I think it probably shouldn't go to b6, because now a4 before a5 might be a move. I actually think bishop b7 might be more precise, because I really want to play a4 before and force you to go back with the knight. I don't want the knight to reach the a4 square here.
Yeah, and this is the theme we talked about before. This knight on c3 often is not ideal because it gets hit by black b4.
Yeah.
Which is why this line, it's not that popular, or at least this version of the Queen's Gambit is normally considered to be quite playable for black.
Yeah, and bishop takes c5, unsurprisingly blitzed out by Magnus. You know, no reason not to take a pawn which is available to take, and it does feel like he should be very satisfied with the results of the opening here.
Yeah, it looks like.
I mean,
these we're missing something like at least he's comfortably equal, right?
Yes,
he's got all the pieces out.
At the very least, yeah. These endgames are not without venom, and you know, I lost a Queen's Gambit accepted endgame to Bareyev in the Russian Championship final once. Without a chance, frankly, was completely wiped off the board. But it's not that endgame. White needs tempi, and here White actually looks like he is behind on tempi compared to what he normally gets in this position.
No, I've been arguing because in my favorite opening, the Vienna, especially if they go e3, you get these structures a lot. And I've always been saying that to my mind they're not that drosh. You can get in trouble with black in these endgames, especially if you have b5 and you get chipped away with some a4.
Yeah.
But you can also get in trouble with white if you play too passively, because piece activity does matter a great deal.
Sure, if you look through the database at people trying to make a draw against a player much better than them with white like this, they lose
I'm
often.
very thrilled if people play for a draw like this.
Yeah. If they lose often, actually, because there is enough here to try and operate, to try and chip away, to try and find small edges. This is not the case here. This is not Sergei playing for a draw. This is just us discussing the objective evaluation of this position. And I think compared to, you know, the normal versions of this endgame, as I mentioned, this is very, very thrilling for black.
No, the narrative that sounds most sensible is that this knight c6 evaluation depends on this very sharp line given by the computer, and Sergei was surprised by it, and therefore, yeah, he played a human move after which Magnus is
and knight d4 has been played. I was about to say, I wasn't sure if I want to include a4 b4 and then play knight ce4. So he's done it, I think, without the inclusion of a4 b4. We take, we go bishop b7, and
it's a bit of a game of chicken. Who takes first? Because taking always concedes like half a tempo at least.
Yeah, it concedes the file for the time being. Once again, you know, if white already had b3, bishop b2, and the bishop was not on e2 but on d3, in some cases you can play, you know, you can create some ideas on the king side. Also, you know, if you give white a number of tempi, he might play, try and, you know, occupy the c5 square. But I think there will never be enough time here for any of that.
No, it looks like you're.
Also, after b3, I was wondering if knight d4 is even a move, but probably bishop d3.
Fancy.
Probably bishop d3 is good enough as a reply. I think it's unnecessary. But it's an option.
Yeah.
Knight b4 is also an option.
Knight e5.
Knight e5,
yeah. Really dumb.
No, knight e5 allows for trades. I was looking for something which might give black some immediate pull. But maybe it just doesn't exist. Maybe the position is still reasonably level.
I could go f5, bishop f6, stuff like that. Also double-edged.
f5, bishop h5 check was kind of worrying me. Although, I mean, you can go completely hardcore and play king f8 here. But yeah, you're probably stretching it a little bit when you start discussing playing king f8 for no reason whatsoever. But yeah.
This is the point, hitting the rook
Although
in the corner.
Castles here and doesn't quite lose a piece.
Castles, that's like in the game today. Svane Hare Krishna. Shout out to my boy Rasmus Svane, who defeated top 10 player Hare Krishna. At some point there was a white knight on f7. It looked to me like Hare just forgot you could castle in that position.
I was wondering if he just completely, because he castled queenside and was also fine, but castling short would give him a very clear advantage.
Much stronger move, yeah.
Yeah, so I wonder if he hasn't seen the famous somebody against Petrov game in the, whatever it is, the Latvian Gambit or whatever, where black plays knight x f7 castles with the queen on d8 hanging, actually. I'm pretty sure some of you in chat will know what I'm talking about. We're not going to try and reconstruct it on the board because we will fail utterly, I think.
So what, utterly?
Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't good.
Yeah, no, we are actually headed towards some of this because takes bishop b7 and b3 has apparently been played already.
All fairly logical. But it does look like the only question here is if black can play for more than equality, which is quite easily obtained by
Yeah,
anything really.
equality,
Castles,
yeah.
knight b4, knight d4, whatever.
Equality should not be an issue at all for black. But yeah, you probably want to inquire if you have more here, politely. But I'm not sure. It does feel like this has serious potential of being a quiet game, I think.
Another one.
But in a completely different opening, so we can't really
Can we
object.
conclude, because we like to overreact to a couple of games, that it's much harder nowadays in chess to get a playable game with white? Because both players have to some extent at least failed to put pressure, like, with white, right?
I think, yeah, that has been sort of well established for a while, that at the very top level, it's becoming harder and harder, and it's becoming a game of smaller and smaller margins.
So you don't see a particular trend in this World Championship match, it's just...
No, I think
thing.
we are seeing what we're generally seeing in once you get above a certain level, and you get players of similar strength playing each other constantly as well. I think that also is a large and important factor, that this is game number n+1 between these two guys, and they really know each other exceedingly well and can prepare.
How many games did they play? I should know such stuff, but 30 maybe? I don't think it's that many.
No, it's not. It's not 150, but they do play each other on a very, very regular basis, of course.
And they've also played in countless tournaments together, even if they don't play each
Yeah.
other. They're quite familiar with each other, these kids nowadays. It's the youngest World Championship match in history, is that correct?
Pretty sure it is.
25
I haven't
versus 26?
checked, but I've seen this mentioned, and it does intuitively it feels true.
Yeah, I couldn't think of a younger case. But it feels like they're still both veterans in some way, right? Like Magnus has been around in top tournaments for 10 years? He's 25 now, bordering on 26, 9, 10
like
years.
that, yeah.
And Sergei similarly.
Yeah. No, they've I think I played both of them in the same week. Where
Same week or same week?
same, possibly both. Yeah, possibly both. And that was the only week I was doing well in for a while, until I lost with white to Sergei. Beating, I think, Magnus with black in the process. But he was very young then.
And in a way, this position is also well suited to both of their styles. Magnus likes technical positions where he can play for the smalls of edges. And Sergei, we've seen, at least in games number, which were at 3 and 4 in this match,
Yeah.
that he can defend
Well,
with
we
the best
are-
of them,
we
which
are-
we knew before.
Yeah, we are saying he will have to defend here, which I think is slightly early. I mean, it very much depends on what Magnus does right now, I feel.
No, I didn't really. Yeah, that's a fair point. I didn't really say he's worse here. I'm not sure he is, but he can't be better. So he has to sort of start thinking about equality at least.
People are saying that if Ponomarev Ivanchuk counts, then this is not the youngest in history, because Ruslan was very, very young then. That
He
also
was
sounds...
18, and Ivanchuk, he must have been in his mid-30s, right? Like, I'm sure they looked it up.
Yeah, well,
But it
once
still sounds
again,
superlative.
we trust in chat, explicitly. So if chat says that much, would
I don't trust these guys at all.
we'll look it up in the break. There will eventually be a break, and then we will look it up, and we will come back to you with definitive data on.
Also, Ivanchuk, Ponomarev, what was it? A FIDE Knockout World Championship
Yes.
final? How did they get there? I remember Pono won,
Yeah,
but was it a regular final?
they played slightly later. There was, I think, maybe a month break
Exactly.
between Moscow and.
But that was the early days of that
and
format.
Moscow, yeah. I lost to Ruslan in the semis in that tournament.
Wow.
That wasn't pleasant. But what to do?
How old were you then? Like 35 or something?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was very old already. Knight b4 looks kind of promising here. If you don't if you don't immediately play against this knight on e4 and try and get bishop f6 in, I think game probably will even itself out. But knight b4 is a very interesting option.
Must think. Okay, let's do this.
Yeah, bishop f3, and now play something like f5.
Whoa, you're not
Well, once again,
concerned about knight d6?
I am, but I feel like I have to, because if I allow bishop b2, my advantage is, any hopes for an advantage, I think, are completely gone. Okay, so we need to try this.
Check.
I was wondering if I can take and even maybe take on h2. But that runs into queen d6 in the end. Yeah, that doesn't work.
I'm still thinking about king h1, but this looks better.
No, it's crushing. I mean, queen d6 in the end there is completely crushing. I've forgotten about that. Okay, so let's go back to bishop takes b7. I can also just play rook b8 here.
What is your point, good sir?
Bishop b5 is my point.
I want my measly a2 pawn?
It's still a pawn, though.
I'm thinking about this.
As you should. As you should. That's a good point.
Because takes.
No, that looks horrible for black. That never is
like
good.
Very good compensation.
Yeah. Which is maybe why we should take on d6 with the queen. Try and improve, sort of do the same, but with a slightly better version. You can take on b7 first. I'm still gonna go rook b8. But I'm wondering if you can just play a3 here and make a draw.
Yeah,
But let's continue sort of along the same lines and see if it's anything.
Yeah, bishop f3.
Bishop f3, I want to take on g1 and go bishop f6. Here, your bishop a3 move is probably a bit too ambitious.
Yep.
So you have to play rook b1, I take on a2. You have bishop c6 check, but I just run with the king towards some kind of safety, like somewhere on g6.
Yeah, here only black can be better, at least.
Sure.
We can agree on.
No, that's a pawn, and you can definitely continue here. So yeah, let's operate under the assumption that queen d6 is the best move here for now.
Takes
rook b8, yeah.
And this maybe, or I'm not sure if I want to throw in any captures.
You can even sorry, I was about to say you can even include queen d6 and then rook d1, but that's pushing it a little bit. Okay, let's say I take on b7 here, and I play something like rook b6, regardless of what you do. Can I lay any claim to advantage here with black or not?
You can lay claim,
but probably I can't really attack the b4 pawn effectively, so it's... You shall not pass.
Yeah, does that fit?
Sort of. Bishop d2, rook fc1, and claim that the queen side is impregnable, but...
So you're comparing Magnus Carlsen to Balrog, if I got that correctly.
Yeah. That probably is a bit of a
Sergei
flawed...
to Gandalf the Grey or Gandalf the White? Because you could argue that his white play so far makes him look more like Gandalf the Grey.
I really played into all that. I did not expect this to go this deep so this early. But yeah, an argument could be made.
Anyway, it's equal, right? Is what
It
we're
does
saying.
feel very, very level, yeah. So a3 might...
Because I have this plan. Covers and attacks. And then bishop e5, I go somewhere else. Nah, okay, it feels equalish. And he's played knight before.
He has played knight before, so...
Our sources...
Which is good, because it means that the game will stay very concrete and...
Yeah.
Bishop f3 does look like it needs to be played here, because well, if you retreat with the knight, you get similar positions, only without the two bishops, and with the bishop on b7 still very much alive and dominating the board. Like knight c3, bishop f6, bishop b2 is...
No, that feels scary.
Yeah, too ugly to think about. Yeah. No, you need to start with bishop f3.
This is the move.
Yeah.
No, well, you could play slowly, but you're not better, right? Bishop d5.
No, bishop d5, bishop b2, you are suddenly completely fine, I think, with
Yeah.
white. You have nothing to worry about. Everything gets driven back, and, nobody is better. Yeah, but there are various other problems with queen d5 as well, starting with the fact that it threatens nothing.
I wasn't claiming. It's a good move.
Queen d3, but... Oof. But I still don't see a point to it. We don't really want the knight on d3. We want it to attack the a2 pawn.
Let's check what the chat has to say. No stupidity in the chat! Exclamation mark is what Rosebuster says. He also says, meh, quiet game. Meh, by the way, this is Homer Simpson, right? We didn't have that word before Homer Simpson. Because one of them my most frequently used words, but I don't know if it's really Simpson. Anyway, he says, meh, quiet game. Peter speaking gently. Jan leaning, looking bored. I think you would get that scenario no matter what the position on board, frankly. But I do agree with all these statements.
Even with the no stupidity in chat.
Gryffindor says, you know what Forrest Gump says about stupidity? I don't. Dumb is who does? Dumb? Something like that.
No idea. I haven't rewatched that movie in ages, so...
I remember, but in Germany we dub movies, so in German it's dumm ist, wer Dummes tut. Which translates, dumb is who does dumb stuff. So I'm guessing that's what...
Stupid is as stupid does?
That sounds more like a more eloquent way to put it.
Yeah, that sounds like something I may have heard before, but I'm not sure that exists. Not
Forrest Gump, sure. Not well known for his way with words, right?
Yeah, Magnus just castled here. That's a little bit confusing to me.
Probably he spotted this 96 and decided to avoid it.
Sure, but let's say we play bishop b2 here.
Horsey?
Horsey just play bishop d4, I thought, and ask the horsey to shift again. Yeah, maybe f5 now. But even bishop... No, because... Hang on, let me try and figure this out. I can play knight f6 check here, and queen takes d8. That seems to work.
So many loose pieces. But yeah, it does work, right?
I think has great potential of completely vacuuming off the board somehow.
Maybe I should go rook 88.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you did it with this. Yeah, rook take for the rook, I guess. Bishop takes b7.
Takes with the rook, then my rook is dumb. Let me at least take.
Sure. Okay.
Okay, yeah. It's just a3 and a6 is weak now.
Yeah,
nothing here.
Yeah, it does feel like everything will come off in very, very short order here. I think f5 was maybe the more critical try, but maybe even there was nothing really.
I have turned to the silicon tease.
Yeah, the all-seeing eye. But the all-seeing eye is now really not suggesting anything mind-boggling, and
no, it gives this with a tiny edge for black, but hard to believe. It leads to anything more than that. Then again, Magnus Carlsen, good with tiny edges, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
People complimenting my pink shirt. Pink shirt wasn't a hard choice. The tie I chose to go with it, I thought was a very bold and horrible, but...
No, but you are well dressed today. I have to compliment you on it as well. In general, I'm not sure what your approach to this is, but I treat dressing for this show the same way I treat working out, which is I only care about the upper body, really.
Yeah. You don't really want to know what's happening with the stuff you don't see on screen, but
I'm Donald Ducking it. You look that up. Let's go back to the game.
Yeah, both bishop b2 and bishop a3 look like they will probably lead to a great number of trades very, very soon. Bishop a3 might be even more sort of hardcore in order to, like, I want to take on before.
You want to take here and get a check?
And then go knight f6 check. I just want to completely siphon everything off the board. Might be, since it's unlikely white is better in this position, might be the most you know, the most cynical way to get absolutely everything off.
Is there nothing
Rook,
black can
rook
do?
B8 maybe. You need to protect the bishop.
Ugly.
Or maybe bishop D5.
Yeah, this I like better.
Bishop D5 maybe.
Not claiming a win here, though. Because, okay, even something like this is extremely little, but at least black would...
Well, game continues.
Yeah,
Game continues for a while. Although, yeah, knight G3 here, and frankly, you know, in some ways, you know, in Catalan you generally prefer knights to this bishop in some of these positions. Although it's very...
You'd rather have it on D4.
Yeah, you need it on D4. With a knight on D4 you definitely would actually pick white to, you know, ever so slightly, but... Yeah.
Okay, it's all very close to equal, with black being the only one that can be better, which...
For the time being, yeah.
Opening battle went well for Magnus Carlsen. The question is maybe if instead of this castle, it's one of the options you brought up.
Yeah, let's check why F5 wasn't played, because I'm slightly confused. What was wrong with knight D6? Check.
Computer gives rook A7 here as even stronger.
Yeah.
Still.
So A3, yeah, I think maybe the point is it drives the rook away from A1. So it takes on D1 and then throws in a very important intermediate with bishop F6. Well, sort of important intermediate, and that position is probably a little bit better for black because A6 is not hanging and will not hang for a while because the rook is cut off. Although still, I mean, I play bishop B2.
It's still bad on a draw, but this pawn is much weaker than this pawn not.
That actually is an important inclusion. So that it would have been interesting, I think, to play F5 and see how Sergei reacts, because it does feel like it may have been a bit of a bit of a sterner test for the challenger.
D'accord. And in the game, there's little new to say. Sergei has to treat somewhat carefully, but I have little doubt that he's going to find a way to, just equalize.
Also, it's tread.
Here we go.
Bishop A3 played by Karjakin, and now Magnus has a very, very well-defined choice. You either allow bishop takes b4 and you have a complete day off, or you actually make an effort not to allow an opposite color bishop endgame to appear on the board, and you play on for a while. So his next move will be, I think, an indication of how he feels about this position, and in general how he feels about a second rest day in a row with black.
Yeah, that's true. Then again, well, chances haven't been there all the time with white either, right? So I believe whenever he feels he has a chance,
sure.
He
no, it depends.
will try to grab it, but it's not clear if there's any.
Yeah, it depends on whether he actually, rates this as a chance or just a position where you can play on without any real, shots at the goal forthcoming, or you can, give your opponent an option to exchange everything, which he probably will take, considering that white generally isn't going to be better here ever, we feel, and then you just have a short day. I think in general, yes, it's game 7 and there are only 5 left and it's becoming tenser and tenser. But on the other hand, if you just completely remove the 2 black games in a row, it can't be better than much, right?
No, as long as no side is leading, I believe the general approach will be for both that a draw with black is all right.
Yeah. No, I mean, in particular, a draw like that, where you've shown like a semi-idea on move 10. I don't know how important this is, but looks like it might be an important improvement on what the normal theory says here. I mean, you've shown this. Your opponent was not entirely prepared, seemingly, because knight g2, knight d4 cannot really be a refutation of what black is doing. So you didn't really have to think about very much in the opening, and then you allowed all these trades and everybody went home. That kind of a draw with black, and then you can just start preparing for your next white game. I mean, they've obviously working behind the scenes preparing for the next white game regardless, but I mean, it's a comfortable scenario.
Yeah, I believe it's just he's gonna have a good think here, probably.
Sure.
I don't know, 10-15 minutes, and
Yeah, I don't expect
figure out
I don't expect a
what he
fast
wants
move
from this
here,
game.
because, yeah, as mentioned, I think actually not allowing knight f6 check it, not even because it's it's hardcore playing for a win, but simply it makes white's life slightly less easy, and it just makes more sense to play something like bishop d5 or rook b8 or something along those lines. So I expect this is what will happen, but we'll see.
If you were a betting man, you would... Obviously you'd bet on a draw, but what odds would you give on a non-drawn outcome of this game?
Not a betting man, but they would have to be very, very long. I don't know.
Would you care to give a more specific number? I'm not trying to talk you into a bet, I'm just curious. 1 in 10?
It feels mildly ridiculous, but yeah, somewhere in that region, yeah, between 8 and 10, I think. Because it doesn't feel like it cannot happen at all, but it does feel that, I mean, compared to the positions that we've already seen in this match, which did not result in a decisive game, this really does look very mild. And
are you getting anxious because of all the draws, or are you gonna tell these kids out there, Kasparov-Karpov drew like 300 games in a row and no one complained? What's 7 draws?
No, I'm not. No, I'm definitely not getting anxious because this is a match I'm commenting on from the comfort of the studio. I don't really have any reason to get anxious.
Anxious might be the wrong word,
Yeah.
but bored.
No, board is also not. And I was very gratified to see there was a bit of a dialogue on Twitter where somebody said something along the lines of, whoa, this is boring, about game 6. And Ed Kasparov63 replied saying that the games which are very interesting for the professionals are often easily identified by the fact that a lot of people are saying they're boring. So he kind of...
Well, I understand his point. I would argue that the boring games are also often easily identified by the fact that many people are saying they're boring.
Sure, but still, I mean, it hasn't been... I think it hasn't been as well played a match as we would expect from these two players. I think neither of them is playing his best chess so far. But I don't think it was boring so far at all. I think there was enough there to find get interested by. That sentence didn't really end at all, but
yeah, and chess quality and drama is like separate discussions, right? This game, whichever game it was, game 5 was super dramatic, I thought, or even game, I can't remember.
No,
game was game 4, where Magnus was pressing in the
Sure.
end game and so on. But,
no,
yeah.
Games 3 to 5 were all very interesting, and yes, games 1 and 2 were frankly a bit dry. But you can sort of understand the initial period where you need, perhaps even for Magnus, getting the starting nerves out of the way might be something he wouldn't mind, and problems with posing, with creating anything out of the opening are universal. But let's say game 6, which a lot of people objected to, I thought people only objected to it because
Why did they object to it? There was just good preparation.
yeah,
Right?
I think they feel betrayed when Magnus actually shows that he is not averse to showing a forced draw somewhere, because I think his approach in games 2 and 4 in particular was, I will play something which is a lot less forcing. I will ignore the lines which are supposed to lead to something which is close to a forced draw, and I will play something which is maybe even considered to give white a better shot at advantage, just to get a game.
Right.
And when in game 6 he said, nah, I'm tired of this approach, I just want to make a force draw somewhere, and actually made it, there was an outcry. At least there was an outcry. You know, I've gotten messages from people.
And it's an important distinction, because Magnus a bit has this image that he doesn't really know opening theory, and I've been arguing against that for a while, because many times in tournaments he will make that choice, right? Let's leave piece on the board, let's be slightly worse. But in game 6 he showed that, yeah, if he feels like, he can play this theory game as well, right?
And yet, seriously, people were upset. I've seen people being upset about it. I think it's completely ridiculous. This is the World Championship.
He even gave an explanation, right? At the press conference, he said, okay, he was lost in the previous game, and he felt like today was not the day to do big things, so he was maybe more comfortable than usual playing that line.
I haven't seen the press conference, but yeah. But and Rook C8 played by Magnus, so yeah. Now we think
that's a draw offer, right?
Yeah, that pretty much is a draw offer. It actually is a bit of a weird choice, even, because in many lines the pawn on a6 will be hanging.
It is strange, yeah.
Yeah, of all the moves which could be played which allow knight f6, bishop takes b7, rook c8 is perhaps one of the weirder ones.
We shouldn't play that, because rook b8 makes a lot more sense to me then.
Yeah, I don't really understand this choice. I mean, it probably is still very much a draw, but...
Maybe he missed knight f6 check. Then again, that is sort of the big theme in the position, right?
No, I think yeah. Maybe he thought white will sort of go the long way, take on d8 first, then take on b4, then go knight f6, gf, bishop takes b7. But, yeah.
So let's look at this line.
Yeah.
Knight f6, bishop f6.
Yeah, bishop b7.
b7.
Bishop a1.
Bishop a1.
And we take on b4, I guess, and both of black's rooks are hanging. And
takes, and all three of black's pieces are under attack.
Yeah.
ft8, rook takes a1, for example. Not a great idea.
No.
This would be lost.
So the bishop actually, yeah, well, I mean, there's something like this, and we can take on f8, rook b7, and yeah, I mean...
It's probably a draw, but only white can be better all of a sudden,
yes,
right?
Suddenly you pick
bishop
white, like
here,
bishop, yeah, and rook c1, c6 or something, yeah.
You have this Catalan weakness.
That's a really strange
choice. It's a bit of a blunder even, right?
Yeah,
for his standards.
Yeah, I think it's a very strange choice, considering how comfortable his position is and how uncalled for this was.
That is very odd indeed.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, yeah.
So unexpected chance for Karjakin here, even maybe to turn the tables and be, well, he's not winning, but he's the more comfortable side of the draw all of a sudden after knight f6.
Well, let's try and make a force draw somewhere like knight f6. I wanna take here. You played this. I want to play something like takes, and but yeah, I thought there was a way for me to force you to take on f8. And then take on f8 and not lose a lot, but I actually lose the entire queenside then, not just one pawn. This is extremely weird, because it looks like, you know, the position we were discussing appears almost by force.
Yeah.
Like I thought maybe I can play something like, I don't know, rook c7. I somehow placed the bishop already somewhere not on a1. And then I could maybe play like rook c2, rook takes a2, and rook a1 and claim this is a draw. But also, even if it is a draw,
let's say, want to make a draw two pawns down compared to...
Yeah, like let's discuss this. Like, even if you get this position, and the rooks come off, why would you subject yourself to this? I mean, people have lost these endgames. Probably not with the pawn on b3, but let's say if it reaches b5. People have actually lost these endgames occasionally.
Yeah, I would not think this is a dead draw. I'm sure it's a draw.
Yeah,
but
yeah, so
it's nothing you want.
It really is a very surprising choice. Once again, considering that pretty much every move,
bishop d5 or rook b8, and you have the slightly better of a draw.
Yeah, pretty much every other move which was stopping the idea of knight f6 check would give him a.
And also what's confusing me, let's say he missed knight f6 check, which is possible, but it's not exactly a winning attempt against the brute force method, right?
No, but that's exactly my point, yeah. Maybe he thought this is what will happen, And he goes rook b8 here. The bishop goes back. They agree a draw pretty much. I mean, it's a completely equal position. There's never going to be anything here. Now that's inadvisable, but yeah, that's kind of the point. Rook c8. You're not pushing for any kind of advantage, and if you're not pushing for any kind of advantage, why not make an accurate move which doesn't let white, you know, suddenly get a sniff at something?
Yeah, this is it's just a mistake, and it sort of confirms your theory that they haven't been playing well.
Exactly. Returning to my point. I mean, this is it's a minor thing. Although I don't even feel comfortable describing this as a minor thing.
Knight f6 played. Yeah.
Because, you know, it turns a position in which black was ever so slightly pushing into a position where he will potentially get tortured for a while.
Yeah, it's very, very confusing.
Yeah, it's a really weird choice. I keep on using that word, which is maybe
the good news is we're gonna be here for a little longer.
Yes. Isn't that wonderful?
I know, you've had a long day, right?
I've had a bad day, not a particularly long day.
I didn't even mean the game, but you've traveled from Baden-Baden to Hamburg to be here in time.
I had to get up reasonably early to play a game, then play the game, then had to catch a flight and all that. But mainly it's the game that's getting me down.
Probably the same thing for both these players. And yeah, this line does look forced pretty much.
There's also bishop takes a6, which we need to at least discuss. It probably doesn't work, but... It doesn't work for a very specific reason, actually. Yeah?
There's no way Magnus planned any of this when he went for rook c8. It's just,
and the fact that he's still thinking after knight f6 check.
Went bishop f6. No.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Sorry, I was about to...
I don't know. In case you haven't noticed, I'm running computer lines here just to get an idea what's going on. I'll switch it off in a second.
Oh, this is probably some kind of a draw as well, but
all these positions are kind of unclear, though, right? I mean,
yeah, no, but why would you ever allow that?
We'll see what happens. But yeah, rook c8 is, I would almost say, I'm not sure, but yeah, I would say it's a very serious blunder for his standards.
Yeah. I'm retracting my minor comment because it really is, you know, there was absolutely no call for allowing this to happen. Bishop b4 and we're getting the position we've discussed by force.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's any way to deviate, but not really.
Well, you can take with the queen on f8, give up on a6, but why are you enjoying it?
No, you're clearly not enjoying it. You might, well, you're favored to make a draw even here, but...
But what, I mean, white goes a4 next move, and I mean, it's an outside passer.
No, of course.
Yeah, no, it's a... Yeah, I'm struggling to comprehend this, to be honest.
So the best line here is this, and there seems to be different ways to reach this position.
Yeah. Rook d8 f5 apparently is not very much, but... And here
also
he's...
kind of maybe only...
Yeah, but once again, I mean...
Okay, f6.
Yeah, well, I like f5 better, I think, but...
It is all very confusing.
Yeah, no, it's...
And the main line, or the computer main line, but also completely natural move is bishop
b4, restricting the pawn on a6, and then going rook c1, because rook d6, bishop b7 is an important detail. So you go rook c1 first, and then you plant it on c6, and this is like a Catalan.
This is a highly unpleasant endgame.
Yeah, I mean, it would be equal with the king on e8, probably, or close to equal, but with the king actually cut off on g8 and the bishop on b4 doing a very good job of not allowing it to re-enter the game. I mean, once again, people lose these positions.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sergei is a fantastic endgame player, not just defender, but also... That was very strange move by Magnus Carlsen. That's all we can really say. Bishop a1 is on the board. They're going down this forced line. It could be that Magnus just missed some detail. He wanted to make a draw, and he thought, okay, bishop c8, and such a line is maybe just a draw. I don't know, but even here you're a tempo up, and you have the c file. But
you know, this probably is completely fine for black because of rook c2, which, you know, if the rook gets activated, black is never really in any kind of trouble here. But yeah,
shocking.
Yeah, I'm still somewhat struggling for words here because.
Do you think that?
And it has taken him like 8 minutes to play rook c8.
Yeah, probably his inner, well, obviously speculating dialogue was something like, nah, I'm not really better here. Okay, then let's play a line that gets rid of all the pieces and let's go home, right? And just play rook c8 without checking it carefully.
Yeah, but tactics. You gotta pay attention to them.
Tell me about it. Do you think that his father's political career has been distracting Magnus a little bit?
Not aware of that storyline.
He declined, for example, what was it? I think the title of Health Minister of the United States.
Ah,
Dr. Ben Carlsen.
yeah. That joke
didn't work as well.
That joke doesn't work quite as well.
No. Sorry.
Mainly because we really don't want to insult Henrik. Henrik does not deserve those comparisons.
That is very true.
I mean, for those of you who are, aware of Dr. Ben Carson and things he's said and potentially done, and those of you who have seen Henrik, they should realize just how preposterous that comparison is.
My apologies to Henrik.
Yeah, that wasn't very nice.
I feel bad now. You made me feel bad. I just went for the joke. Carlsen sounds like Carlsen.
That's the elite humor based on the sounding of people's names.
we all agree that ethnic humor and name humor are the two favorite types of humor of everybody. Anyway, this position is on the board, bishop b4, and Magnus will probably not be too happy a camper at this.
I think he'll be
time.
Fuming right now.
Yeah,
I'd be absolutely fuming if I suddenly had to face this, because you realize.
Even for me, like you play what looks like some good opening preparation more or less, and you're slightly better with black, and then with one move you completely turn the tables to suffer is one of the worst things that can happen.
Yeah, I mean, he will sort of immediately realize that this is not really a draw, and this game will actually now go on for a bit, and he'll be just. I mean, I'd be screaming at myself. I know, in particular today, it feels like something I can definitely relate to. But it's just you're sitting there thinking, why? Why is this happening? The game was supposed to be over already.
Yeah, it is odd, and it's not something you see Magnus do very often. And
No.
at all time controls, like that's why he's the best. He doesn't commit many mistakes.
Yeah, it's just.
But okay, now he has this position, and he.
No, he will have
to go
he
for it,
will
huh?
he will have to hold that endgame that we've discussed. There's really nothing for it. I think it's still probably a better choice than giving up the a6 pawn and trying to hold something without the pawn.
So let's do this again. Rook c1.
Rook c1
threatening
followed
checkmate.
by a forking of 2,
So
king of 3, and the
do something.
yeah the
h6 or h5.
g5 or I don't know.
G4.
I think you need to start gaining space here. But yeah, I mean it's just unpleasant.
You're just worse. You're always gonna be passive after rook c6.
Yeah, like rook c6, rook a7, bishop a5 completely. It locks the queen side down in place. You will never actually get any a5, a4 counterplay going. I mean,
no, it's serious. Wow, it's shocking.
It's a stuff of nightmares, frankly, because a position which featured no danger whatsoever is suddenly like a somewhat poor Catalan.
This is like the dream result of pretty much any opening preparation you can get nowadays. You want some position where you can press for free, and that's exactly what you do. Wow.
And like 3 moves ago, this wasn't on the horizon. You can even sort of make an argument for an idea that pass was stronger than rook c8, because then a6 wouldn't have been hanging in the same lines.
Can we confirm that?
Like h6 and we
better.
We go for the same thing, but then I will have rook a7, and also I will not have back rank problems. That's a bit of a cheating pass, but I mean...
it's a good pass, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty decent pass. But even if you make something completely ridiculous, like, I don't know, king h8 stops knight f6 check, it's not that easy to make a pass.
Also a good move. No, but yeah, it's move that harms your position. It's odd.
Well, it's just...
What can we tell you?
No, I
Such
think...
a move stabilizing looks so natural as well. Like,
I think he basically kind of checked out. I think he thought the game was over.
Yeah, for sure. But even then, like, he just doesn't do this, which is why it's so puzzling.
Yeah.
And now, he's gonna have to... Because not only is he slightly worse, but also psychologically, this is the worst spot you can be in, right? Like, you're just sitting there kicking yourself for a while, then you have to defend.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
It's good for him that he has tons and tons of time, so he can actually spend... You know, he can take a very serious pause here, figure out which of the slightly, well, not even slightly, which of the unpleasant endgames he wants to be holding, and then go for it, you know, with conviction and hold it eventually, or not. We'll see. But yeah, no, weird.
It is odd, and the line is forced, right? I mean,
well, you can sort of get there with slightly different move orders. I mean, you can start with Rook D4, Queen D1, or you can start with Rook B8, or Rook C7 is worse because B5 will then be hanging. No. So, yeah.
Very confusing.
Yeah.
Takes. Once again, all black pieces are on prey, so you can't keep them all. If you move this bishop, let's say...
Bishop F8, Bishop A8. Yeah, this is the option, yeah. This is the option you could consider, doing this, taking on F8 and going before, and saying this is a bit of a dead pawn and I should be able to hold this.
You know what, I actually prefer this position
I was
to the other one.
I was about to say that this potentially is a wiser choice than the other one, because here it does feel like you probably will. Although, I mean, F4, Bishop C4, Rook D7, F5, also not a draw. I mean...
No, of course, white keeps trying here, but it feels... I don't know, to me this feels better. But these opposite color bishops endings with rooks, they're never an easy draw if there's something to play for. No. So yeah, it's an unpleasant choice.
Yeah, he actually needs to take this very seriously now.
I think he will, but it's just...
Yeah.
Because Bishop C8, Bishop B4 is...
It's probably an improvement for black because the rook gets active very, very early on. Like,
yes, good chances.
Although still Rook D8, Bishop F8, and G3, and also the rooks aren't coming off. Or G4, I don't know. Maybe actually extending on the king side might be. But here, I mean, you play Rook B2, you play G6, and you claim that the B pawn will never actually start running anywhere. But still, this will
even if it's an extra pawn, you put your bishop here, you play for some breaks.
This will be played for an additional 75 moves with every right by Karjakin. Yeah, I mean it's a healthy extra pawn with definite conversion chances. So no, I'm flabbergasted.
So yeah, this has taken a very surprising turn after. Magnus Carlsen equalized effortlessly, or arguably even more than equalized, and then he just threw it all away in one move. Now he has to suffer.
No, both of those decisions, like Bishop F3 castling in 1 minute.
Right, that's also a spot, as you mentioned.
Yeah,
F5.
not even giving F5, the time of day, so to speak.
Right.
And F5 is a very serious option here. So already castles kind of allows white to bail out a little bit, and here any move, frankly.
No,
we continue harping on, but I mean really any move here.
It's just a shocking twist. It's like From Dusk Till Dawn. You think you're watching a pleasant road movie, and then there's vampires all over the place.
Yeah, Salma Hayek.
Is she a vampire in that movie? I can't remember.
I think she is, yes.
She's in the band, right?
She's dancing with snakes whilst the band is playing. And then I think she eats some guy.
We know stuff. I would suggest, given the shocking turn of events, and since Magnus Carlsen will take his time here to decide between all these options, none of which are too pleasant. Just as I say this, he's going Bishop F6. I was going to go for a break, but he's playing Bishop F6. So let's stick around until at least they've reached that endgame, maybe.
So yeah, white takes on f8, otherwise he doesn't win any material. Black takes on d1.
Only move right.
Only move. He is actually seems like he's forced that endgame. Maybe it's not horrible then. Okay.
That's okay. Clever. That's a smart move already.
That's clever.
We missed this.
Yeah, we completely missed this somehow.
We dumb. Because we were looking at takes and then bishop.
And then you no longer really get that, I think. Yeah, but here
you have to take here.
Yeah, here. Although you could probably also take on d1 and play bishop f6, we somehow completely ignored this option. So yeah, our fault. Sorry, dear viewers. Queen d1, rook f8. Bishop takes a6, rook a8.
You're confident he's gonna go rook a8, not b4?
Because I think the rooks come off. Yeah. Which is why I'm.
He's covering d8.
Yeah, he's covered. Yeah, this is the huge difference.
And if bishop f1,
we can play
rook b2.
Rook b2, I think.
Here,
yeah, and back. Yeah.
Okay. Then we've maybe.
Although even let's say even in that final position which you've clicked away, so you'll have to re-enter those moves.
I can do that.
Yeah, bishop f8, rook d1, queen d1, rook d1, rook f8, takes rook a8, takes rook a2, bishop f1, rook b2,
rook d3.
Yeah, bishop c4, rook a2, rook d7. It's the way around. Yeah, it's the same endgame. Rooks do not.
Rook a2 is probably a mistake.
Yeah, rooks do not come off. Yeah. No, I mean game will continue. Like rook d7, rook a1, bishop f1. I put the rook on b7, and then I slowly come out of the corner with g3 and king g2 and bishop c4.
Still, this looks like the best version you could get of that endgame.
Sure,
right?
Sure. And he is favored to hold it.
Bishop c3, rook b2. Yeah. You have counterplay against f2, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. He is favored, still, a large favorite to hold it, you would expect, but subjecting himself to it is still a bit of a inexplicable bit of sloppiness.
It is odd, but to his credit, it looks like he found the practically best solution, or at least one we missed, which makes a lot of sense by playing for this bishop f6.
And once again, it's important to note that he got himself into proper working order here because he went for a position where he's a pawn down, compared to a position with equal material, which I think inexperienced players in this situation may have favored because you feel maybe slightly stupid giving a pawn up when you don't have to. But in this position, if in choosing between those two endgames, you definitely choose this one.
Absolutely, yeah. Even the worst version we had before, I preferred to the one with equal pawns. How do we get there again? Just
queen d1, rook b8,
takes, rook b8,
takes, rook b7, bishop d4, bishop f6, and rook c1. Rook c1 being an important move here because you want black to stop black from assuming control over the c file. Because on the d file there are no squares the rook can enter to because the bishop on b4 is so strong.
Yeah, this is just torture forever with no draw in sight. Well, the position in the game, he's going to have to defend a bit, but it's likely he's going to get there. So yeah, good decision, which you would expect from Magnus, of course, but not an impressive decision a couple moves ago.
And that break still probably holds true because the second phase of that game, the position you see on the screen is on the board right now, and now this will continue for a while because there's really no reason for Sergei not to torture Magnus for as long as possible here. But
so that's another option.
Rook d6, yeah,
just popped up.
Rook d6, and you play b4, but yeah, it's a question of which one you prefer because. You want as many pawns on the queen side as possible in general, but the pawn on b4 is a good one. It kills off your majority, so you have to evaluate which one of these two options you feel gives you the better shot. It's not, I think draw is favorite in both cases, but
sure.
Yeah, Sergei will consider for a bit.
This is gonna be a long night, people, so get yourself some Frappuccino if your local Starbucks is still open.
Which it isn't.
Or get yourself something else.
Unless you're in the States where the local Starbucks probably is open.
Also, Starbucks, for reasons unknown to me, is not paying us to say this. So whatever coffee dealer you're comfortable with, you go to. Get your thingy. We'll be back in a couple minutes with more hilarity to come. More insults to Henrik Carlsen, which I will carefully craft in the break. See you then.